Hey everyone, welcome back to Historians of the Movies podcast. Now underneath the heading of Reckoning with Jason Herbert. We'll figure this out a little bit later on. We're still figuring this going on. But hey everybody, welcome. We are talking today about movies and the histories behind them. And this week we are talking about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. And for you, I brought on two of my great buddies. I'm talking about Justin Rawlins and Craig Bruce Smith. Both of these guys are Tom Cruise aficionados. We're all part of the Tom Cruise fandom here, and we're talking about this film, what we liked about it, what we didn't like, and everything else in between. So if you haven't seen the film yet, this is a spoiler-free podcast up until a point. So we're going to introduce the film, talk about our general views, maybe our thoughts on the overall Mission Impossible franchise, and then we'll mark it and tell you when to stop listening because we're going to do a big dive in deep on Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning and the rest of the Mission Impossible films. So if you like these franchise, if you like other spy capers, this is your pod. Listen to us talk for a little while. You're going to have a great time. So with that said, sit back and relax because Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is next on Historians of the Movies podcast. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and start this with the most obvious pun. Gentlemen, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to talk about Mission Impossible: the Reckoningest of the finalist reckon. So whatever it is, yes.
It's not even the pun I thought you were going to make. I thought you were going to
go with?
Aimlessly plug your new podcast, The Reckoning.
Okay, well, this is under Reckoning, even though I have the HATM shirt. That's the old days. This is 1996, Jason.
See, I think you were going to go with the Jason Herbert reckons with the final reckoning on The Reckoning.
We can always loop that back in. Fletcher, make it happen. All right, let's jump into this. But first, gentlemen, let's introduce you guys to our audience for people who might not know who you are. Justin, you want to go first? You were here the first. You were here waiting when I logged on.
Yeah, just hanging out. Well, I was trying out this this Tom Cruise fetal underwater image as a background. I'm Justin.
That'll go great with your students.
Oh, they love it. Oh, they love talking about like the Mission Impossible movies and all the stunt stuff. So,
wow.
Yeah. They're gonna love listening to this.
Good.
Yeah. But I'm Justin Rawlins. I'm a media professor at Ontario Tech University in the Toronto area and at the University of Tulsa. So, yeah, it's good to be here again.
Craig?
Yeah, I'm Craig Smith, and I don't know how many times I've been on this podcast. I think Jason doesn't have any other friends, so he just calls me.
I have Justin.
Yeah, but it's got to be, I don't even know. It's got to be double digits by now. We're pretty close. Anyway, so I just have to say that none of my views were representative of the IMF, Director Kittredge, or anyone else. So with that being said, let's talk Tom Cruise, one of my favorite times.
All right, let's do this. Let's talk about this film and this franchise. For those of you listening right now, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and the rest of the Mission Impossible series. But at first, this is going to be a spoiler-free discussion, kind of like what we did when we did Sinners. So we'll let you know. Later on, we're going to jump into the film and do like a spoiler-filled discussion. But for now, we'll talk about some general ideas and things like that coming into it. So I guess, Justin, you were the first person to reach out to me about doing this film. And then Craig, of course, like quite literally has something written into our friendship manifesto that says that he has first dibs on all Tom Cruise films.
Yeah, I've got a few. I've got first dibs on anything Arnold related and anything Tom Cruise related, I think that's true.
How have they not done a movie together is my question.
Because you have literally the two of the biggest movie stars of all time, and
who gets top billing on Arnold?
So this is the interesting thing.
Yeah,
this is the interesting thing because I think Arnold, a lot's been made of Tom Cruise as the last movie star. I think that's because Arnold has transcended into something else.
The Governor.
He has transcended movie stardom. but no offense to Tom Cruise, one looms larger than the other. So again, I make no secret that my loyalties lie with Schwarzenegger on all things.
Well, we are not going to turn this into an Arnold Fest. This is a Tom Fest. Gentlemen, what is your relationship to the Mission Impossible franchise? You guys had both seen all of the films beforehand. You were both eager to do this. Justin, how did you come to the Mission Impossible? Have you been watching these since 96? How did you come to these movies?
Since 96, I was watching Mission Impossible reruns, the TV series on some, I think we didn't have cable when I was growing up, but we did have like a local station that just ran lots of cheap reruns. That must have been where I watched them. But I loved the whole spy genre. Was a huge Tom Cruise fan. I remember thinking and declaring to anyone that would listen that Days of Thunder was the greatest movie ever made. I made that claim a lot when I was a kid.
Is that your pitch to come back on for the Days of Thunder pod?
Oh yeah.
All right, you're in.
Oh yeah. Because they're doing another Days of Thunder. They're doing another Top Gun. But
everything stars Glenn Powell from here on out.
Yeah.
Well, that's the power of Tom Cruise, that he can literally create a movie star from someone who should be Josh Lucas starring in Sweet Home Alabama 2.
It really is, right? Justin, we're all about the same age, right? We're all in our 40s, right? Yeah. So I was just out of high school when this film came out. I remember seeing it in the theater. I didn't watch Mission Impossible, the series, as a kid, right? But I always, was as a dude drawn to the spy franchise, right? And I knew the theme song, but I never really watched it. So, Craig, what about you? Have you been? How's your relationship with this?
I saw it in the movies. I think probably like opening day or pretty close to. Now, I always like Tom Cruise. That's no secret. Any listeners or anyone who's ever interacted with me on any social media knows, no secret. I do not hide my love of Tom Cruise. But my dad was actually a huge Mission Impossible fan back from the original series. And he had certainly shown it to me. I think it was probably on like Nick at Night or something.
That makes sense.
It wasn't anything like we saw it regularly, but he was a huge fan. And so he was dragging me to see it. I think he wanted to see it and was using me as an excuse to go see it. I wanted to see Tom Cruise do spy stuff, and he wanted to see Mission Impossible. And all I can remember is him walking out of the theater, yelling and screaming and complaining that they made Jim Phelps a bad guy.
Wow. So I thought that was a great turn of events.
I thought it was great. I thought it was a great movie, but that's all I remember. Again, I think to this day he still complains about that. How did you make Mr. Phelps a bad guy? And the whole point was, well, Tom Cruise was the star, but he wouldn't have that. So that's my earliest experience with Mission Impossible.
I mean, think about it. We didn't have the Bourne movies yet, right? No. So in terms of like big spy movies, we had James Bond, and then this was like the American James Bond, right?
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
Very much so.
Yeah, I was obsessed with James Bond at that age, at that point in time, and I just remember being so excited that like, oh my gosh, Tom Cruise is going to be like the American James Bond.
It picked up right after GoldenEye. There had been that hiatus, right? So spy stuff got hot again. But you're absolutely right. American James Bond, and I don't think that's even up for debate anymore.
Right?
No, I think we'll talk about this. We'll put Ethan Hunt in context with Jason Bourne and James Bond, and I'm sure I'm missing out on a few other big spies that we'll talk about here in a bit. But yeah, I remember watching this film and just being, all the way down, and what becomes a hallmark of this franchise becomes the big stunt sequence, right? And the Langley sequence, which is all over this most recent film, I remember just blew our minds. It's one of the most famous sequences in all of Cruise's career. Am I right?
It's got to be. It's probably the most instantly recognizable. That if you've never seen a Tom Cruise movie, you've probably seen that or some parody of it or some play or take on it. But yeah, you've absolutely seen that scene.
whenever we get a montage of Tom Cruise, we always get that moment of him when he drops, it almost hits the floor. That is absolutely a staple. Usually it's at the, it's in a prime spot because it's so iconic. Yeah.
What's crazy though, when that movie came out, people weren't sure Tom Cruise could do action movies. And, this is where you have the start of Tom Cruise doing, his stunts, or at least like these big, I mean, I don't know what he did before that, but he didn't have these big, elaborate stunt scenes.
I feel like there's a moment in Ghost Protocol. Ghost Protocol marks a change where he starts going bigger.
Oh, yeah.
It's clear, like with Ghost Protocol, and we should probably talk about Mission Impossible too. We'll rank these films here in a little while. But I think one of the fascinating things about this franchise that goes for 8 films is that I think it nearly died after 2 because 3 felt like they were just taking a shot in the dark with this unproven director, because the John Woo film is not good.
It was not.
It's so. When was the last time you guys watched that? Because it's been a while for me.
I watched a couple weeks ago just to run through it all. I will say that Tom Cruise looks glorious. It is probably the best performance of hair on screen ever. But the movie just isn't good. It's all flash and no substance.
That's a John Woo film.
That's like to me, it more than any other film in the series, it feels so much of a precise moment in time, like just the John Woo slow motion everything, which is like, it's great in its element. Like in The Killer, it's amazing. In Mission Impossible, I don't know, it just feels a little off. The soundtrack it's so of its time in a way that the other films I think are a bit more timeless. This one just feels so precise to that moment.
Yeah.
I don't think that one holds up at all. I watched it, and again, it was like, that one I watched, again, rewatching them, I watched it to get through it. I had no desire to watch it. I had no desire. It's like, all right, let's see some hair flips. So, okay, got it, move on.
Well, it also suffers the strengths and weaknesses of this franchise have actually always been in the villains, right?
Yeah.
When the franchise has had a good villain, and we'll talk about 3 here in a bit, it can really do some cool stuff. But when it doesn't, when you've got Dougray Scott, who was just not, the big thing that Mission Impossible 2 did for us was give us Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
That's true.
I mean, that's its cultural contribution.
Yeah,
it shows the power of Tom Cruise. He can create other movie stars.
he absolutely can. Yeah. All right, we'll come back to the rest of these franchises because we'll talk about the rest of these movies in depth. What were your feelings going into seeing this? Did you have hope? Are you tired of this franchise by film number 8? Like, what were you thinking going into the movie theater itself?
All right, I expected to be entertained. I expected there to be at least 2 elaborate stunt sequences, again, more, but 2 really big ones. And I expected a big send-off. I got everything but one of those.
So I knew about the underwater stunt. I knew about the plane stunt because, and I'd love to talk about this at some point, but the fact that the stunts are so much at the center of the promotion, that's just abnormal when it comes to cinema, especially in North America. But I will never tire of these movies. I love these movies so much. I did go to see a very late screening, so part of my thinking was, I hope that I'm not so old that I, zonk out. Because like the movie didn't even start till 10:45, and it's it's almost a 3-hour movie. So it's like, all right, let's see how this 46-year-old does with a really late screening.
I went to 11 a.m. I wasn't fooling around.
I went to 6:55 and I was complaining. It was like, what am I doing? What am I life doing? I'm going to be out till 10. Guys, in my 20s, I shut down more bars than Prohibition. And now, like, I stay up till 9 p.m. I had like ice cream at 9:30 last night. Like, it was just so the idea that you went out that late, Justin, sounds impossible.
But one could say. But you know what? If there's a film that could sustain me, an old man, at that late an hour, it's a Mission Impossible movie.
All right, let's talk about the film itself. What were you, before we spoil the film, what are your general impressions of the film? Were you happy with the movie? Were like, is this a movie people need to go see?
I think if you like stunts and you like spectacle and you like just the event movie, by all means, you're probably not going to do better. If you're going in for plot, if you're going in for story, I think you're going to be let down. Mm-hmm. I thought it was good. I walked away, but it was, Jason, I think I texted you within 5 minutes of leaving the theater, and I said, it was good. It wasn't great. And it didn't have the send-off I was hoping for. It just sort of ended.
It kind of did.
The ending is really curious because I'm trying to recall which installment it is, but there's a previous installment where they basically do that same.
I think it's Ghost Protocol. I think might have done where he puts up the hood. I think that's right.
Yeah. So when I saw that, when I felt like that was unfolding, I was like, oh, they're not going to end with this. Like they're basically citing themselves in a movie that, for my money, was a little too focused on citing its own kind of history. Mm-hmm. But again, like Craig said, I think no one's going to Mission Impossible expecting story. I think they're going expecting stunts, and this movie does not disappoint. Even at the 2.5 hour mark, where most films have wrapped up, that's when they're just getting into the biplane stunt, and oh my gosh, like the vibe in the packed theater where I was incredible. Like everyone, you could just like sense everyone's twisting in their seats. Everyone's like gasping for air. Like it's palpable. So, I assume that's what most people are going to see that movie for. And in that sense, like Craig said, I think people will feel satisfied. I have all kinds of things I want to say about the story that, but
so I've got a story just to tell you quickly about how the stunts are going to pull people in. And, the Cruise has cultivated this, and now the movie's more about the stunts, I think, than anything else. So my stepdad is a avowed Tom Cruise hater. Absolutely hates Tom Cruise. He acknowledged that Maverick was a good movie. So think about how great Maverick was for him. Yeah, it was good. It tormented him. Last Samurai, he said, was a good movie, but would have been one of the all-time greats if it had been anyone but Tom Cruise. Hates Tom Cruise since the 80s. I don't know what his vendetta is, but it is. Goes back to Top Gun. Anyway, so he was in a previous life was a professional deep sea diver, and he still obviously scuba dives. My mom scuba dives. My mom is Tom Cruise tolerant, but my stepdad, former deep sea diver, hates Tom Cruise. And I told him, I said, listen, you have to accept the fact that Tom Cruise is now the world's most famous scuba diver. More people have seen Tom Cruise scuba dive than everyone else combined in the world. And I told him about the scene diving the sub. And I told him about the gear. And I told him, he's like, well, how deep was that? I said, I think it was supposed to be 500 feet. He's like, ridiculous. I said, well, he dives it. And only Tom Cruise is the only person that could do it. And he's the only one who could do it without a wetsuit. And so my stepdad, who hates Tom Cruise, turns to my mom and said, all right, I got to go see it.
All right. I don't want to wait anymore. I want to get into this film and pick this thing apart, because there are parts of this film that I really liked. I think, like you guys, there are parts of this that I'm just like, I didn't really care for. And then there are parts that just baffled the shit out of me. So I want to get in. So if you're listening in right now, pause this, go listen to Tom, or more realistically, you're going to listen to the dulcet tones of Jason, Craig, and Justin as we could talk about this film. So we're about to jump into this, and we're going to do that right now. So here's my thoughts on this film. What I would really like to hear right now before we jump into Drove Us Nuts is, what did you like, guys, about this film? And if you want to start with the stunts, and we can have this discourse now, Justin, on the stunts, I'd love to have that.
I think we just talk about the stunts. Everyone, they're the flashiest part of it. It's the part that, again, like Justin said, this is what they're selling.
Yeah.
Usually in movies, they hide the stunts, like that's the big reveal. This is like the selling point, and they've been doing this since
Ghost Protocol,
probably since Ghost Protocol, right?
Yeah.
So obviously they're the headline. They slap it on the poster. So yeah, I think we have to talk about them first.
It's the promo. It's at the heart of all the promo material. I've been consuming vast quantities of Mission Impossible publicity over the last few weeks. One of the things that's come up again, and I remember this with at least the last two films, is that Christopher McQuarrie, the director and co-writer, has said that he and Tom Cruise, when they decide to do one of these movies, they first decide what cool stunts do we want to do, and then they're like, the stunt comes together, and they're like, okay, well now we have to like have some connective tissue to connect the stunts into some story. So whereas other productions, it might more organically kind of congeal as like, well, there's an action sequence, but the story gets more focused. Here it's like the story is incidental, right? And I think there are times, especially in this installment, where you might feel that a bit more than something like Fallout, where I think the supporting cast and the villains are so strong that it I think kind of blinds us a little bit to maybe some of the deficiencies in the storytelling. But I think here, especially stretched out over almost 3 hours, you get a sense of like how little a priority the story itself is in the production.
So like, again, the dive sequence makes sense. You had to dive that sub. Everyone knew you had to dive that sub. They've been it's the teaser in the first few minutes of the first movie. The plane sequence was sort of like somewhere cross between like Broken Arrow and like Iron Eagle 3 Aces. So it did seem a little forced, even though I thought it was great.
It's so cool.
Yeah, but then there's like Isai Morales is almost like winking at the audience, going, "I even brought a backup biplane." And like, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, all right. Justin, you're absolutely right. Like I didn't know that was the plan, but like it always felt that way. Like it was like, let's build a movie around a set, and it has felt to me really for a while now that Tom Cruise's mission in life is not about making movies so much as saving the movies, right? When you look at Maverick, I liked like the fact that Tom Cruise came on to talk to the audience about this. You might not like Cruise in the personal life. I think he's fine. I like him actually. But I don't have any doubt that this guy's like, look, I'm trying to make movies for you guys. Like this is big movies, but I want you to go see them in the theater and eat your popcorn and drink your soda and have a grand old time, just like we used to.
I can't think again. Please, someone correct me. I can't think of any other actor that has like his little prologue addressed to the audience before a movie, and Cruise has done it twice now.
I like it.
I think it's good, but I can't think of anyone else who's ever done it.
There's a funny parallel. It's not before any particular movie, but do you guys remember the Nicole Kidman little promo that would play? I think it was maybe like AMC or something. Where she'd talk about the magic of the movies, and she's just sitting back, and it's it's a promo just for movies generally. That's an interesting like corollary to like where Tom Cruise, it's like he's barnstorming endlessly for his movie, and occasionally, like he promoted, he advertised himself, sitting outside the theater seeing Sinners, right? And he's like, "Here's my ticket. You got to see Sinners." He did that with the Barbenheimer two summers ago, right?
He did it with like, Twisters.
He has been Twisters. Like raw. Yes, he's been raw the movies.
Yeah, that was the whole, and that was, I don't know if you guys remember the recorded tongue lashing that he gave to some of the set
during COVID.
Yeah,
he was dead serious on that.
Well, yeah, and that kind of the way that was contextualized is that is his passion for like saving the movies, right? And he even says at one point, he's like, basically if we screw this up, the movies die. And it's like, well, it's a little extreme, but like that is of a piece with the way he positions himself.
I believe he believes it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that like when he goes around decided, hey, I want to make a movie with Michael B. Jordan. Like, we're going to get one in the next 3 years. Like, that's gonna I can't imagine. And Michael B. Jordan's got to be like looking for that project, to sign on to it. And I'm down for that. I don't feel like he's like glomming on to somebody else's successes when he shows up at Twisters. I think these guys like Glenn Powell's like, this dude is making me a movie star, and I am thankful that he's here. He's bringing. It's like he becomes this legitimacy. Like it's I feel, and there's all this talk about like who he's dating now and on an Armis and stuff like that. But I really feel like Cruise's passion
that was dispelled, I think, now.
Yeah, I feel like Cruise's real love is the films. Like, I don't know, his romantic interest is the movies themselves. I feel like that's probably like where it's almost like, and I don't want to sound negative, but it's almost like this Howard Hughesian type relationship with the movies in some way, right? This becomes who he is and who he's about. I don't want to say it negatively because I appreciate it. I really do. Like, this is a guy who loves what he's doing. And guys, I love the movies. I still love going up and getting the popcorn and the soda. There's a romanticism for me. Sitting out, I don't want to watch a movie. I don't want to watch it on streaming. I want to watch it at the theater.
Think about this. So you said this, like, Cruise is what, 62 now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's getting towards a normal person's retirement age. He has his kids. He's had his relationships. This is now his, I'm going to go and do the stuff I always wanted to do, although he's kind of been doing that his whole life. Mm-hmm. Now he can do whatever he wants. And he's putting everything clearly into the movies. He's talking about how, he's living in editing rooms. He's lining up the next 4. This is clearly how he wants to spend, talking about how he's going to do action movies till he's 100. Again, I don't know. Maybe he's going to get those suits from Edge of Tomorrow.
I think we're all waiting for him to die on screen. It's like this thing. And, it's like we all know coming into this film that we're going to get the two. Like, there's no spoiling this film because they've promoted so much of this.
Yeah.
Social media, elsewise, like Tom's like quite literally shooting, in addition to shooting the film, he's shooting ads on the biplane saying, we'll see you at the movies because we know it's coming.
I don't think so it's funny that we said we're going to do a spoiler alert on this movie. I don't think you can spoil it.
Mm-mm.
I don't think so. I think we kind of know. No. The big question is, will Cruise survive? Because it's
right, I think that is the only question going into this movie. But yeah, I mean, you're going to see it. Everyone kind of knows what's going to happen.
There's going to be twists and turns.
Yeah, someone's going to flip on someone else. There's going to be, everyone knows what's going to happen.
Can I say a thing? I was thinking the other day when I was watching this film. What would be great? And because we're going to get more Mission Impossible films. There's talk about Glenn Powell taking over the lead. They tried to hand it off to Jeremy Renner, which we're going to come back in a little while to Jeremy Renner. Wouldn't it be amazing if in a Mission Impossible film, there was never a time when they go, oh, we doubt you. What are you doing? You have to go rogue. What if they go, wow, this guy's really high to train. Let's just trust him. Let's give him the support he needs. Thanks. Good job, agent. And then, because every film goes, he's gone rogue. Like every single, how many times does Tom Cruise have to save the world for them to go, let's not do this thing, Finally, we did that because Angela Bassett's managed to survive for like 3 films.
Yeah.
So, did you have a favorite of the 2 big sequences? Are you a biplane or are you a submarine person?
I like the sub personally.
I did too.
Better. Again, I liked it better. The biplane was a more impressive stunt.
I sat there wondering, like when I was watching the biplane thing, I was like, how do they do that? Like how are they filming this?
He's clipped on somewhere.
Right?
Not risking Cruise.
They've got a cable that's running across, at least for the parts where he's on the wing.
Right.
I just literally an hour ago, I watched a behind the scenes featurette. And if you look carefully, you could see there's just a very thin cable that's strung the length of the thing. And he's got like a clip on that. And that's kind of like attaching him to the bottom and I think to the top. But basically all that does is like, it keeps him from being blown off. But now he's just getting like banged up and down against, the underside and overside of the wing. Like do
the stunt.
It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's not going to die, but he's still going to do it, which is impressive.
But he was also controlling one of the cameras. So they actually, when he's like half into one of the cockpits, his hand is in there controlling remotely the camera that is like is following him. I couldn't locate the precise thing because McQuarrie was describing it, but basically he's like focusing in, focusing out, doing some other stuff. And it's like, how do you have the wherewithal to be the star, the stuntman, and the camera operator, all while in an actual biplane 10,000 feet above the ground? Like, that is incredible. That's just mind boggling to me.
So going back to my stepdad, my whenever there's a stunt or something in the show, he's like, "Oh, that's not impressive. Think about what the cameraman has to do." Tom Cruise was the cameraman.
Tom Cruise was the cameraman, the editor. Tom Cruise personally cooked all the food. Tom Cruise was craft services. For the film, he showed up. It was like, "Hey, everybody, I made these wonderful," but so forth. So, those are the strengths of the film. Are there other parts of the film that you really enjoyed?
I do like, again, that it's like Justin said, it's an American James Bond. So I do like the travel. I do like the international locales. Mm-hmm. For me, again, maybe this is just for an old Tom Cruise fan like me. There was so much running, and it was glorious.
At this point in time, the running thing is a thing. Like that is a nod and a wink that he's going to run, right?
So it had 4 running scenes, something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah,
glorious.
Justin, what about you? What else do you like?
I love the running. In fact, Paramount released a compilation of every Tom Cruise running scene from every Mission Impossible movie, and I think it runs for 35-40 minutes. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. I love me some Benji.
He's been a good fit.
Yeah, he's been really great. I have some quibbles about kind of some of the interpersonal dynamics. I was a huge Elsa Faust fan, so I feel her absence.
Yeah, let's talk about Elsa because I think she was the best character of the franchise.
Loved Elsa.
Elsa was great, but you can't have Haley Atwell, one of Jason's personal favorites, and Elsa. It's too confusing for the audience.
The problem was, here was the thing, right? Like, we have the romance between him and Tandaway Newton in the second film. Like, that's a full-on actual romance. And he usually gets the girl-ish in the film. But I never felt like the heat between him and Michelle Monaghan in those films. I felt like the only person he actually came close to having like a real sexual chemistry with was Rebecca Ferguson as well, right? Because she's cut from the same bolt of cloth. She's also kind of like this super agent. Things like, so killing her. And I thought that at the end of, what was it, Rogue Nation? Like they were like, that was where like there was a send off. Like, okay, these two are gonna be together. This is look when they're on or was it Rogue Nation or was it one with the Cavill? Fallout. Excuse me. Fallout. At the end of Fallout, I'm thinking, okay, because they're there on the mountain and they're kind of looking at each other. Okay, and then they introduce Haley Atwell, and there's no chemistry between him and Haley Atwell. And I think she's actually older than Ferguson, if I recall correctly. So. You want the guy to get the girl, but that may have been trying to do too much at this point in time because he's 62. Like we never even saw like a real kissing scene in Maverick either with him and Jennifer Connelly. It may be the fact that he's an older guy now. People,
and his stuff is. I mean, his material for a while now, I think, has been like fairly chaste in terms of like sexuality. But like, there's something about he and Rebecca Ferguson just have great chemistry. Like sometimes it's quasi-sexual, sometimes it's just. They just really seem to gel as personalities. But I also get that like they have established her skill set very specifically. And that I don't think that's the skill set that they wanted to have going into the last 2 movies. And, then we get...
you also you need Gabriel to kill someone prominent.
To show that he's bad. To show that he's
I think bad. He should have... Yeah. I think at that point in time, you really needed to either kill Luther or Benji.
You can't kill Luther because Luther's not a fighter. You need someone that can
but like you need that emotional impact. You don't have a relationship with Haley Atwell. The only person you could have what if you had brought back Jeremy Renner and had Gabriel kill Jeremy Renner, who we know is a comparable fighter,
again, that's
right?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, it's sort of like it's about Ethan Hunt sort of punishing the women in his life. It's sort of like remember Bruce Willis in what was it?
Hudson Hawk?
No, it was like the Jackal ripoff.
Day of the Jackal. No, I think it's called The Jackal.
The Jackal, where it's like where he says to Richard Gere, "You can't protect your women." It's like a play on that. I think they're trying to establish Gabriel as really trying to physically and emotionally hurt Cruise, or Ethan Hunt, I should say.
Let's talk about Gabriel, because I think he's one of the weakest villains we've had in this. So absolutely, boring. And the problem is, Esai Morales is a good actor.
He's a great actor.
The part.
Yep.
Did not fit the bill here. And I just don't know if it's because of the writing. I also think maybe we're just like we're villained out at this point in time, because we've had some really good villains. In fact, two of the best villains in the same movie when we talk about Fallout, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. What were your thoughts on Gabriel? Because I was like, even the killing him off, the way they killed him off,
bug on the windshield. It felt very bug on the windshield. Yeah,
it was anticlimactic.
The audience in my screening let out the biggest awkward laugh. They were like, that's it? Like, are you kidding me? This guy who's been the big bad for 2 movies, this is how he gets got? Like, that's, but I feel really bad for Esai Morales. Fantastic actor. I think he's really underserved by the writing here. And he has the unfortunate luck of following Fallout, which had Sean Harris, Henry Cavill, phenomenal villains. Each of those could have carried it on their own, but like to have both in that movie, so good. And Esai Morales has the entity is a non-entity.
I never understood the entity. It just like that. Also, it just felt like a weak MacGuffin.
Yeah.
So he's got nothing to work with. Esai Morales.
I don't mind the entity. Because as you know, especially being in higher ed or in academia, AI is getting pushed on us everywhere. AI this, AI that, AI is the future. And the fact that Tom Cruise's response is, well, I'm going to kill it. I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's like, I could see there are so many ways in which I think the entity could have been a more formidable or interesting figure. That terrifying kind of Clockwork Orangey moment early on, right? I was like, oh my gosh, give me more of that. Like that's truly disturbing. And then that kind of went away, right? That dynamic went away. But like, the thing about the acolytes, the cult around him
could have been really good.
Could have been so great. And we just kind of get like a slight callback to that later in the film. But like there were I feel like there were promises very early on that were really compelling, and they just kind of fell away for whatever reason as the film went on, and probably would have, at least in my opinion, would have maybe bolstered the story a bit more and made us invest more in the villains.
So Gabriel, I thought they were going to go more quasi-religious cultist with him.
Yeah,
there's the slight nods, but they didn't go all the way with him.
Yep.
I feel like there was a lot missing with Gabriel. And here's the thing, right? So the thing that I think that they both hit and missed on this was trying to tie all 8 films into this one giant conspiracy and things like that, which frankly I didn't actually like the idea of.
I don't think they got them all in. I mean, they definitely got 1, 3, 7. I mean, but did they really touch anything else?
3 looms large here, and I think that was one of the strengths of the film was the idea of the rabbit's foot and stuff, right? All right. While we're talking about villains here, let's talk about this, because I think one of the great things about this franchise is how well 3 has aged over time. 3 was not a huge hit when it came out, but it kind of revitalized. It kind of like there was enough there to like get us to 4, which I think was really when Ghost Protocol hit. That's when this franchise took another direction. 3 and 2 feel like 2 different films outside of the franchise, but I don't think the 3 is bad. In fact, I think 3 is really, really good. I love the fact that they never tell us in 3 what the rabbit's foot is. There's just and that's the thing. Like J.J. Abrams in that film did the thing where he doesn't do in other films, which is he actually trusted the audience. And I still think we got the best villain in the entire franchise in Owen
Oh
Davian.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the villains here. Do you guys want to rank these guys as far as who do you like is the best villains in the franchise? We've got Owen Davian from 3.
Mm-hmm.
We've got is it Sean whatever his face he can be last if he wants from 2. We've got Jim Phelps from 1. Like who is the best Mission Impossible villain?
I still think it's Phelps. I still think 1 is the best by far. I think because 1 had everyone guessing.
Yeah.
Everyone was guessing in that first one. You weren't sure. Again, obviously you knew Tom Cruise wasn't going to be the bad guy, but there was enough there to make you doubt for a second. Are they going a different way? Are they going to no way out this?
Killed Emilio Estevez 10 minutes in the movie.
Yeah. So he's just done Mighty Ducks too. Gordon Bombay. Ducks didn't fly together there.
No.
I think it's Jim Phelps for just impact.
Justin, what about you? Who's your ultimate MI villain?
I would have to go. I'd say I love the Henry Cavill Sean Harris combo.
Yeah,
because they're 2 very different kinds of villains.
I could listen to Sean Harris narrate a full book.
It's so buttery. Like he's telling you he's going to like gut your entire family, but he sounds so pleasant when he says it. But in terms of just like the sheer kind of performance of it all, it's Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's Davian, because he's so menacing, and you truly believe like this guy would kill anyone and he would not feel any remorse. Whereas like, I don't know, I feel like at least the Sean Harris,
Harris feel like he's got a code, right?
Yeah, they believe in something. They're both insane, but they believe in something. Where it feels like Owen Davian believes in nothing. Like, so and that's terrifying.
Here's the issue again, and I agree that he's good. He's probably the best acted villain.
He's probably the best actor in the franchise. Period.
Yeah.
Losing him is such a god.
Not arguing that. Does anyone believe that Owen Davian can beat Ethan Hunt in a fight?
Doesn't have to.
But the point is that it comes down to that in the end. In the end, it comes down to they are literally.
Do you believe that Jim Phelps was going to beat Ethan Hunt in the fight?
But Jim Phelps has at least got years and years of training and experience. He's got the emotional, psychological factor. He's got Jean Reno helping him in the chopper.
Well, and Jean Reno's the muscle, right? Like,
right.
Jim is the brains, right? He has outsmarted Ethan, right? For much of that story. Whereas Jean Reno is the muscle who can he could beat Ethan in a physical fight. So there's that, so like we kind of have to. I think
he quite literally is fighting them both at the same time at the end of the film.
Yeah.
I just think maybe my single favorite, my single favorite scene from the end of the Mission Impossible sequences films is not actually like the big scenes. It's Davian on the plane after Luther says don't do it, Ethan, and then he's like, I'm going to find everyone you love and I'm going to hurt them. Mm-hmm. I'm going to kill them in front of you. And it's just it's just the way he was so good. And of course, the way the film starts was with him in that countdown.
Mm-hmm. But it sets up Cruise for some of his best acting in the series, which is no.
Yeah.
Well, I think he has to because Philip Seymour Hoffman's so good. I think he pushes Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think I don't mean this is a slight to Tom Cruise, but I don't think of him as an actor in the league of Philip Seymour Hoffman. But I think Seymour Hoffman can get him there. So when you get that no sequence and stuff.
That sounds dangerously close to Tom Cruise bashing Jason Herbert. It won't be tolerated on this podcast.
I know. I'm careful. And look, I think in a lot of ways, Fallout kind of saves Henry Cavill's career because it gives us a different version of Cavill. Listen, the loading of the punch is one of the most brilliant things I've ever. It's so simple. We've seen it a billion times. It's been parodied. Hell, he even does it in the Deadpool film, right? It's like he's the mustache. Everything works. I love Cavill in here, and I think he I'm soft on Cavill because I think he got treated like shit by DC. Yeah. And I thought he was actually a terrific Superman, but that was corrupted by really bad writing by Zack Snyder.
I'm going to throw this out there. 5 and 6 are the most James Bond of
absolutely
the series, which is why
4,
I think
5, and 6.
The villains for me are very Bond-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It could be it's like Spectre or Quantum or whatever you want to call them. So I think that's why it works, because they've got a bit more of a formula there, but it wasn't remarkably different from any standard Bond villain. Whereas I felt like Phelps, they usually don't do stuff like that in Bond movies. It's a bit more direct.
Can I tell you my favorite callback in this film? Because they're trying to really tie a lot of things. CIA analyst William Donlow.
Oh yeah, I laughed.
Loved him in this,
yeah,
because he shows up and he's got a massive role.
Yeah.
In this film, and he's good. He's really like you saw, and I like the fact that like we buy in, and like it turns out that he's not just this nerd. He happens to be a genius, and like I immediately buy in.
He was comic relief in the first one.
Yeah,
that's all he was.
But he's good. He's a good actor.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the tie-in where I was like, yeah, that's good. That makes sense. And then it's like, oh yeah, he's at the radar station in Alaska. I'm like, it all ties in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost too perfect, but I don't care because I thought it was great.
The problem was I was disappointed. I felt like everyone in the audience around me didn't get it.
Yeah.
Maybe I am.
Listen, he's a character actor. He's not famous. Like all of us saw it. It was like, this is terrific.
Yeah,
I was so excited. He looked he actually looked great with the beard. I loved it. It was like, and the way Benji was fawning all over him, it was like, this guy's a genius. The thing I had trouble with was Brandt, because I was thinking today about Jeremy Renner's career, and I feel like the Marvel films really stalled what could have been a really brilliant career, because when you look at some of the stuff that he's done. You look at him in The Town. He's easily the best. He's easily the best part of The Town. If you've seen SWAT, which is almost an unwatchable film, but he's terrific in SWAT. He's a really great character actor. He gets put in the position here with this film where they're going to with this franchise where they're going to hand it off to him after Ghost Protocol. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're setting him up, and then Cruise decides, you know what? I like being the star. They tried to do the same thing with the Bourne films, where he's going to be the next guy. And I thought that he was actually a very likable guy. He's a good actor. Nothing about Brandt in this film. And I just felt like something. I know that there was ideas like maybe they'd kill him off screen, or they'd bring him back to kill him by a bad guy to show how bad the bad guy is. We're missing some Brandt somewhere.
I agree. He should have been brought in. I would say on Jeremy Renner, I don't think he's a leading man. And
no, he's a character actor. He's a really capable character actor.
And I'm sure, though we could argue if the Marvel movies hindered his career, I'm sure his bank account is perfectly fine, and I would happily have his filmography. And I don't know many actors that wouldn't trade places with him.
It's curious. I mean, obviously, he's probably still recovering from his Snowcat being run over by the Snowcat. But I mean, he's still been acting. He's done a full season of The Mayor of Kingstown since that. But I would imagine that probably does place some limitations on like the physicality of the roles he can do. But it was bizarre that there's not even a reference to Brandt.
Yeah,
like
everyone else is brought back.
Yeah, at least give us a mention of Brandt, like off doing something. It was odd. It was an odd kind of lack of presence there. Can I just say something about the Donlow reference? So the Donlow thing, which I loved this character was brought back and wasn't like, he got his flowers. He was like redeemed, right? It wasn't just like the diarrhea joke in the.
I was afraid they were going to kill him.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I think that him being brought back highlights a particularly odd place that the film finds itself in, and that's trying to serve two masters. It's trying to give us some deep cuts for the nerds like us who are like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. But then it also feels like it has to over explain. So it's like, so we're going to get an image of this Donlow guy from the first movie. And we get these kind of references back to earlier movies. And to me,
not necessary.
I'd say I'm well aware of the fact that I'm not an average moviegoer, right? Like I study movies for a living, but I'm like, that takes me out of the story a little bit. When you kind of over explain something, that takes me out a bit. But I get why they have to do it, because they're trying to appeal to as broad an audience as possible. So they're trying to do two things at the same time. And I think that's where sometimes they get into a little bit of trouble in the storytelling.
But it's also if you're trying to appeal to the modern moviegoer right now, someone who did not see the first movie. Again, I don't think you necessarily have to see all the movies to follow this complicated plot. I don't think you have to, because I don't think someone who's just walked in, I just want to see some cool stunts. All right, whatever. Some old guy who did something sometime. Done. Good. Got it. Move on.
I got one other beef I need to talk about regarding roles. And this is also for our producer, Fletcher Powell. He and I have a long-standing joke running about this. Paula Patton as Jane Carter in Ghost Protocol. I loved her. I think she's great. I'm shocked Paula Patton is not a mega star. I think she's amazing, and she should call me. So hey, Paula, how are you? I just know that things have been hard, and Colorado's nice. You should come visit. I wish I liked the world building that took place in 3 and in 4. We just said, oh wait, there are other MI agents, like the Josh Holloway stuff, like when they kill him off at the beginning of Ghost Protocol. I thought it was brilliant, because I would absolutely watch a Josh Holloway spy film, because I think he's got the goods. Wish we'd seen more Paula Patton, like in the franchise. Like of all people, like we should have had Elsa. She was far and away the best. But I don't know. Sometimes we'd get flashes of characters. Then we never saw Maggie Q again after 3. She's terrific, So I guess maybe that's kind of my downside on some of these. I don't know. What other thoughts you guys have?
My biggest complaint with this movie was the end, and I think we could debate how it should have ended. I thought Ethan Hunt should have died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and set him up, this messianic, they're teasing it. You are the chosen one. He could be the sort of messianic.
I was shocked that he lived,
sacrificing himself for those he will never know.
Mm-hmm.
That he pulled it off that time, but he gave his life for it. I think that was the way to go.
And they set it up, him falling from the plane. That was it. Like he was like, okay, the last thing I have to do is get this thing connected and do that. And then they set it up, and then it feels like they blinked at the last minute.
Do you think
and
they didn't kill him because they did kill James Bond?
No,
I think this death makes more sense than killing Daniel Craig. I thought killing Daniel Craig made no freaking sense.
Correct.
This death would have made sense. It would have stuck with the complete theme of what was building
about sacrifice and all these things.
It made sense on so many levels, and it's consistent with the Ethan Hunt character. Whereas the Bond character is always, king and country and all that, but he's always been a bit more self-serving.
And he's timeless. I mean, there literally been 7 different guys who played him, whereas Ethan Hunt, it is Tom Cruise, right? So there's that unification of character across all those movies where the death would mean more.
And you could have a 9. Again, you could have a 9, but it's always like we have to, think about your memory of Ethan Hunt, as opposed to now it's always like, it'd be better with Tom Cruise. Why didn't they just bring Tom Cruise back? He's not dead.
Yeah.
Maybe you have him come back in and see the president, and he takes over running MI or something. I don't know. But they didn't stick the landing on this. And I think that was the thing. And Craig said this early on. The movie just ends. We're all in the square and we're going to look at each other. And I guess that is
Here's like, this is a scene I imagine like you cut to news feeds around the world, all the capitals, everyone's cheering the defeat of the entity, everyone's hugging fellow human, yay humanity. And then there's just some dank catacomb in some nondescript building somewhere. It's Ethan Hunt's coffin and like 3 people.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's like,
because that would fulfill the mantra about like we do things in the shadows. The names of the people will never know, or people will never know the things we do. Yes.
Yeah, like Benji and Grace in Paris show up,
and that's
to pay their respects, right? And then they're moving on, and now it's Benji's team. Speaking of which, if there was a love interest in this, I actually wanted to see Benji and Paris end up together. I'm like, why can't Simon Pegg have a love interest? Like, I actually thought that the two of them played off really well. I think Pom Clementif's really good in the series. I think she's a lot of fun with this. So I liked seeing her. All right. So this film was kind of, I don't know. What are your final thoughts on this movie? Because we're going to put these movies into order.
Well, I had issues with the ending because I felt like for a movie that really told you it was taking a lot of chances, it did the safest possible thing at the end.
Yeah.
I also thought the beginning was really strange, and I understand like they've made a point over the last couple of installments of doing the prolonged open before you get the credits, but the way, like, recall what moment leads us to the opening credits here. It is Haley Atwell's character watching something off screen, watching Tom Cruise's character murder 2 dudes in such violent fashion, which is so out of character for Ethan Hunt. And the camera pans over and he's covered in blood. And the audience I was watching with, we all let out like a nervous laughter. Like, what is that? That is so out of character. Like, what a strange opening. Like that paired with the us watching Ethan Hunt watch a retrospective of Mission Impossible movies for what feels like 3, 4, 5 minutes. I was really thrown by the opening. I feel like once it gets its legs, I'm in. But I felt like it was really
it takes until we get to the submarine for it to turn into a movie.
Now, to be fair, if they had played Hip to Be Square, I would have completely forgiven it, and it would have made perfect sense to me.
Yeah, it was just an odd opening. I didn't have as much trouble with it because it was like quasi montages. But you're absolutely right. The murder scene, the killing scene was like completely tonally. This movie doesn't know what to do. And here's where I kept thinking about this film. This movie is The Hobbit. You've got between this film and Dead Reckoning Part 1, you have one really long movie that they stretched into 2 because they could make more money that way. They got more big things. This movie is too long for one film, but there's not enough there to make 2 full films.
They keep alluding to Tom Cruise as like what brought him to IMF, but then they allude to it. I don't know how many times they show that clip of Gabriel like looking back. I'm just like, so just tell me then. Let's get into it. Or
so Gabriel's the big bad the whole time, and then then we get the bug on the windshield with the big like it just. It was so unsatisfying. If you're bringing 9 films over 30 years, or 8 films over 30 years, it was such an unsatisfying conclusion. Fallout would have been the better conclusion of these. I feel like the film should have ended with Fallout.
I agree with that, and I think Fallout would have been the better end.
Yeah.
Fallout was a perfect ending.
Yeah.
Everybody gets away. Tom and Elsa are going to be together. It's going to be all right. Like, we're going to have little assassin babies later. It's gonna be awesome, All right, let's do this. Let's put these films in order. We've got 8 films. We'll start at the bottom. See if we've got any different takes on these things. Justin, you were here first.
Oh, do you want to do it? Do you want to do it like on the count of like 3, and then put up fingers?
Oh my God, this will be the finger. For all 4 audience. That is 2 right there for the worst. All right, worst film. Justin, what do you got? What is the least successful Mission Impossible film?
For me, it's my lowest on the list is 2.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, And again, I can see some people love it. Some people love Mission Impossible 2 because there's some elements like old Hollywood storytelling in it. It just takes me out of it. That's too much slow motion. It's too dated. Dougray Scott is not a convincing villain to me. So yeah, that's my lowest.
And they bring Rade Sebinya back like twice. You can't kill the man and then bring him back as a different role. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I think anybody there are all these rankings out there. Craig, you're going to say 2 as well, correct?
Yeah, 2 is the worst.
Yeah, I think every single person. There's just an acknowledgement. Not only is it 2 the worst, it nearly killed the franchise. I mean, it almost stopped it dead in its tracks.
It's not even that it was a bad Mission Impossible movie. It was not a good movie.
No.
I think Cruise was good. I think Cruise is good in everything. It just wasn't a good movie.
Do you remember? I knew I was in trouble. I remember watching the movie theater, and I think it's the opening credits gets kicked off by throwing the sunglasses, and they explode. Awful. And I was like, "Oh no, this is no."
It's such a moment of its time. This film, like it feels right.
Because Oakley or someone paid probably a couple $1 million for that.
Well, listen, Tom Cruise has a well-established relationship with doing sunglass movies, right? All right, what's your second? What is in the number 7 spot?
Whew.
It might be 8. Might be the current
Final Reckoning.
Yeah, it gets honestly for me. It gets tricky. 2 is the easy one to like kind of set aside. Yeah. After that, I feel like I'm the quibbles are more minor. But yeah, 8 is probably the next lowest on my.
There's a big gap between 2 and 8 though. I could rewatch 8.
Yep.
Yeah, I could watch. I don't think 8 is a good movie. I think it's fine. I think it's forgettable.
I think it's fun. It's fun. It's but forgettable. I'll give you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got 8 at 7. What do we got at number? What is your? This is where things are going to start getting interesting. What's in your number 6 spot?
Well, why don't you go? Why don't you do this one, Jason? Because Craig and I have already done ours. Yeah.
I think it's Dead Reckoning. I think 6. I think the 7th movie in the franchise. I think Dead Reckoning is probably the 6th best film. Again, we're suffering from Eastside Morales, all of this stuff. The movies start to feel, again, Justin, like you were saying earlier, they stop feeling about stories and start feeling about, hey, these are big set pieces. Look what we can do with this. Mm-hmm. And then trying to build a story around them. And that doesn't create a good movie. Like,
that's fair.
We're crushed by a bad villain, by a really poor villain. The sequences are great, but I was like, oh, cool, Henry Czerny's back. That's kind of cool. I liked him being this Weasley dude that I still never quite figured out. He might be my favorite character in the entire franchise. Now I think about it, because I can never quite figure out whether or not he's good or bad, or like
that's the great part about it. Because who knows?
I think he's a good guy. He might actually be the best person because he's loyal agent, right? And he's such a great foil to Ethan Hunt in that first film.
Yeah,
it probably is. You're probably right. It probably is. But I think, as you said earlier, you could make a really good movie between 7 and 8 that would move up higher.
God, could you imagine combining all of those stunts from 7 and 8 into one movie? That would be the greatest spectacle ever. We would die. Like it would be. I mean, that would be phenomenal. That's a 3-hour movie I would watch.
All right. Well, here's where it's going to start getting, because I think 2, 7, and 8 are easily the least successful of the films. I think this is where we're going to start having some discussions here. Okay, so what's in our number 5 spot? We have remaining. We have Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible 3, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. We have Rogue Nation, and we have Fallout.
I think 3 goes next. 3.
Man, I'm torn because 3 and Ghost Protocol to me are so close to each other. Like they're not. I have my top tier, and those 2 are not in that top tier. But man, it really is a toss up for me. I would say, you know what? I would say 3 because I think will be rated a bit lower because the stunts don't impress me as much as the ones in 4, the ones in Ghost Protocol. Yeah.
I think it's 3 as well. I think still best, and at this point in time, I think, like I said, of all of them, I think 3 is probably aged the best in the fact that like it was okay when it like it wasn't like this super big film at the time it came out. I think people go back and say, "Hey, I really like to watch 3 now."
Yeah.
So I think anything from here on out becomes distinguished. Like this is what I like about this film, and so forth. I think 3 is makes sense at 5.
Cruise breaking into the Vatican though is fun.
Yeah. Three is a fun movie. 3 is a definitely fun movie, but J.J. Abrams also screwed over the Star Wars franchise. So there's that.
I will say this too. I think one of the things that unfortunately had nothing to do with the movie itself that worked against 3 came out right after Cruise's really bad PR stretch.
Yeah.
And I don't think I almost feel I if you can feel bad for a movie, I feel bad for 3 because I feel like it some of the shade on that comes from just the inherited bad PR, which, you know, I think 3 helped to kind of smooth out things for Cruise a bit, and then 4 kind of begins the build back up.
What's funny though, if you think about what other celebrities have gotten themselves into lately, the guy jumped on a couch. Who cares?
Yeah.
Totally right. But it was a different time, and it looked like we were still adjusting as a society. We can talk about this later on, but it's like to like these clips and stuff like that as celebrity takes this new turn.
Yeah, that was literally. I'll just add real fast. So I actually wrote a paper, a book chapter about this specific thing. There was literally one of the very first viral YouTube clips. YouTube was only about 3 months old when the couch incident happened, and so it's like. It seems so quaint to us now, but like it was such a new phenomenon. Like basically,
it was everywhere.
Meme. Yeah,
but I mean, if you think about it, like as scandals go, you jumped on a couch and you said the woman you loved the woman you were married to. Well, whoa, calm down there, Tom.
Yeah.
All right, we're down to our final 4. We got Mission Impossible,
4,
Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout.
Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
Ghost Protocol is probably my soft spot because, again, hey, Apollo. But also, it's probably my favorite opening with Josh Holloway, like doing the thing where he jumps. One of the cool things is that when he's jumping off the building, he throws that ball down and he turns around and he's shooting in the air. That's such a cool shot.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And I think it's an important moment because, like I said earlier in the talk, the franchise shifts gears with this film. It starts to get big with the Burj Khalifa and all these things. Everything from here on out, you could even argue, but these are 4 fun, good movies. All right, now here's where it gets. Okay, we got 1, Rogue Nation, Fallout.
For me, the next one would be 1.
Scandalous.
I'll tell you why. I mean, I'm happy to defend it.
Tell me why you're wrong. Go ahead.
I love 1. I love the way that Brian De Palma directs it. There's just something about 1 doesn't give us the kind of group dynamic that I love so much about Rogue Nation and Fallout. And that's not and I understand that it's the first movie, and so many of these characters are meeting each other, but they also kill off the team that he actually has some good chemistry with, right? Like the banter between he and Emilio Estevez at the beginning, I was like, I remember watching it the first time and being like, oh man, I'm gonna love this. And it's like, oh, sorry,
they're remembering their times in Oklahoma with the fighting the Socias.
That's right. In Tulsa. Yep. Which is literally like a quarter mile from where I lived in Tulsa, the outsider's house. So that's pretty rad.
So were you a greaser or were you a Soch?
Greaser. Yeah. But there's something about the other 2 films, about Rogue Nation and about Fallout, where to me that is all. Everything is in high gear there. Everything is clicking. I'm not the biggest. This is gonna hurt you, Craig. I'm not the biggest Phelps fan. Again, these are finite differences, right? This is still my 3rd favorite, but it just overall did not click with me as much in terms of like the pacing, the stunts, the acting, the group dynamics, the writing, as the the other two that I'm ranking higher.
No, fair. Take your point. And again, I think John Voight wasn't the best choice. Imagine now. I'm going to invite you to imagine that it's 1996.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of John Voight, Harrison Ford.
Oh my God!
Does it change?
Harrison Ford's not old enough to be.
Nah, he could have pulled Phelps. Because remember, he's doing Air Force One right about the same time. He's grayed by.
You're missing out, dude. It's Gene Hackman that should have been Phelps.
Nah.
Oh my God, that would have been amazing.
No,
oh my gosh.
It wouldn't have worked.
That would have been
Gene Hackman.
So, I mean, okay. So, real quick here, how old do we get a sense in the first one how old Phelps is supposed to be? Like, he's supposed to be a father figure, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 60. I would guess
60.
Right?
He's younger. Okay. He's younger than Hunt is now.
Yeah,
and he is clearly on the way out. He is retiring. You know.
Yeah.
But that also, I think there's an also interesting thing that goes here. You know, it's like there's this huge discourse on social media right now about like how old people my age looked 30 years ago, like in the 80s or something like that. Like someone who was 47 looked like ancient in the 80s, right? We all seen the Wilford Brimley stuff and things like that, right? 1996, 60 was you're going to the farm, you know. This is Phelps' last thing he's showing up for, and he's gonna go off and retire. And now it's Ethan's team.
Now how about this? Sean Connery.
I'd buy it. I'd buy that. Absolutely, all day long. Yeah, as a tie-in to Bond, as obviously a very strong nod to Bond, I think that really works because we don't see Connery as a villain very often. I'm trying to think about when the last time we did see Connery.
Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I don't know.
Did Connery ever play a villain? I don't know. Either way, all right, let's move on. I'm gonna make a call here. Mission Impossible 1 is our number 3 film.
Ridiculous.
I am persuaded by Justin. But now we have back to back. We have Rogue Nation. We have Fallout. What do you like?
I think I like Fallout better than Rogue Nation because I think it's got it's the better ending. It is the biggest danger, the biggest threat. I think it's got the tie-ins to earlier movies but tie-ins that make sense and feel appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I would have loved that could have made it better for me is if when Ethan Hunt uses his face doctor name, he would have said he was Bill Harford. See, no one even gets. Well, maybe. No,
I don't. I'm trying to make a face. I'm like, I don't know this.
From Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing that could have made it better for me.
That would have been amazing. That would have been amazing.
All right.
Again, Eyes Wide Shut, not a particularly great movie. The point is, it's Tom Cruise basically just walking around for 3 hours. He's such a movie star. He makes it work.
It's one of his horniest movies, for what it's worth.
True. Justin, what about you? How do you feel? Are you Fallout or are you Rogue Nation man?
I think I'm on the same page here as Craig. Like, if I had to rank these two, I would rank Rogue Nation slightly below Fallout because Fallout to me is just like everything is pitch perfect in terms of like what I want from a Mission Impossible movie. Rogue Nation I love so much because the stunts are great. The underwater stunt there is just every time I watch that movie, I find myself holding my breath. It gives us, that's where we get introduced to Elsa during that great opera fight sequence. And it's just funny. Like he dies in Rogue Nation and they make a really funny thing out of how he's just kind of, his body's just kind of flopping around for a while, right? After he gets resuscitated. I know it works really well, but Rogue Nation is just, Fallout is just so much better. Like that, I totally bought that fake sequence where Ethan Hunt is participating in the jailbreak for the Sean Harris character, and he's like, just shooting innocent people. Like I was like, oh my gosh, this is how far he's willing to go to do this.
And you have Tom Cruise movie star magic where he basically pauses a French policewoman by just looking at her.
Right.
Doesn't need to say a word.
No, I don't think it's a question for me. And in fact, like we said earlier, I think that Fallout would have been the perfect ending for this franchise. I don't, it's fine. Like more Mission Impossible is fine, but I'm ready after Fallout to hand it off to another. Like I don't want the Mission Impossible franchise to end, and I think we're going to see more of those films. But I think it's time for a couple, 3-4 years break, and time to hand it off to another agent.
Now, I do not want to see a reboot with a new Ethan Hunt. I don't want to see it.
No, this needs to be John McCoy or whoever, right? This needs to be a different character with his or her own. I think these films work best as a lead, as a male lead on this. Oh Jesus! I just thought it's Michael B. Jordan.
Could be.
He'd be great. Yeah,
he can do it.
It's good. I think it's either Michael B. Jordan.
If that happens, Glenn Powell is crying himself
or Glenn
to
Powell.
Somewhere.
Glenn Powell. Like I think it's one of the two of them, right? But I think Michael B. Jordan's big enough star now where he can carry this franchise. And people will buy it. As much as I like Glenn Powell, I don't think Glenn Powell's the star that Michael B. Jordan is yet.
So here's the thing. With this, you could cast pretty much anyone. There aren't the inherent, with someone like Bond, it's based on material. The character has to have certain elements.
He's got to be English. He's got to be whatever, right? Sure. It
could be literally.
He's got to be British, right?
Literally anyone.
Yeah. All right. So who do you cast? This is my question. This is my big question. New Mission Impossible films. That's what we'll wrap with. Your mission, should you choose?
No, I want to give me 1 sec. Give me 2 seconds to praise one. And
okay.
Again, give me so one is the most unique of all of them. It's a standalone movie. It could have just been that one, and it would hold up. It's actually it's a spy movie in that you're not quite sure what's going on. You're not quite sure what to believe. The other ones are pretty straightforward. And I think 5 and 6 are more Bond-esque. I think 1 is, again, killing everyone off right away. That set the tone. No one saw that coming.
No.
It sets it up that anything is possible in this movie. I mean, Emilio Estevez gets his name in the opening credits, and then he's dead. I think that's why this one works the best. It also sets up Cruise as an action star in a way that people weren't sure of before that. And yeah, he did Top Gun, but again, the planes are doing the work. He really didn't have really action movies. Again, Days of Thunder, yeah, but it's the car. Without Mission Impossible, he does not have the rest of his career the way it unfolds.
All right.
Yeah,
and that's my case for it. He's doing a bunch of Jerry Maguire. He'll do more Jerry Maguire-esque stuff, and he'll have a brilliant career. He'll probably win an Oscar for something, but he does not become the last movie star. He does not become the king of Hollywood.
And De Palma, like this is the only film in the franchise that's directed by like a true cinema auteur. Like it has those hallmarks. Right. It is distinctive. It has a style to it that is distinctive that the other films, as much as I love them, do not. Like you don't necessarily, and this is not a knock on Christopher McQuarrie, but there's not a distinctive McHugh style like there is De Palma.
Right.
De Palma has a very distinctive style. So that's just to kind of piggyback off of Craig's, I think, very astute evaluation of the film.
And before we go, should we talk about the tie-ins to Red October between Final Reckoning?
Well, I also have to point out another thing that makes me love Fallout. It's a little speech, and I actually have the text up here, and I want to perform it because it's see one of the unsung heroes of that group is the Alec Baldwin character, right?
Loved him. Yep.
And he gets such ridiculous dialogue. So this is in Fallout, and he's talking to the Prime Minister about Ethan Hunt, right? So I'm going to try to do my Alec Baldwin. It's terrible, but just stick with me. Hunt is uniquely trained and highly motivated, a specialist without equal, immune to any countermeasures. There is no secret he cannot extract, no security he cannot breach, no person he cannot become. He has most likely anticipated this very conversation and is waiting to strike in whatever direction we move. Sir, Hunt is the living manifestation of destiny, and he has made you his mission.
And let's second guess him in every single film.
But
of course,
again,
but that's like, I love it. It's ridiculous. It's preposterous. That is preposterous dialogue. But so
it sets him up to die.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to ask you to cast the next one, but I want to ask a better question, which is this: the world's at stake, and you can choose one operative. Your choices: Ethan Hunt, James Bond, Jason Bourne, or John Wick.
Which Bond?
Oh, let's go with Daniel Craig.
Okay, Daniel Craig.
Let's go with Craig. Okay. Since he's the most recent.
What's the mission?
The mission is to infiltrate a globally connected. Should we add Vin Diesel in here too? Dom Toretto for this.
Family.
Yeah. I'll break yourself to him. Yeah. All right. You have to infiltrate a global society to stop certain nuclear annihilation, head off, and get the girl.
Ethan Hunt.
Yeah. John Wick. Infiltration is not John Wick's.
No, he murders. He just shows up and murders.
Yeah,
everyone.
if you need someone killed, it's John Wick.
You're taking Hunt over Jason Bourne.
I'm taking Hunt over Jason Bourne because Bourne, if you're talking infiltration, no.
Yeah, he doesn't have that skill set.
He will get in, he will extract what you need, but it will not be silent. Bond can be stealthy, but he'll tell 50 people his name before he leaves.
All right, let me ask this final question then. 4 men enter a room: James Bond, Ethan Hunt, John Wick, and Jason Bourne. Who emerges surviving?
Bourne.
Well, it's down to John Wick and Jason Bourne. I think pretty.
I'm gonna go Bourne.
Yeah, probably Bourne. Like his hand to hand skill set, I think is better than Wick's.
Yeah, and Wick can die.
Wick's over relying on guns.
Yeah.
The thing I do love about all these franchises is as these franchises evolved over the last 30 years, you can see each one influence the other. And I've always kind of enjoyed that play. Bourne really reinvigorated Bond in so many different ways. There's a real fun dialogue with that. And I feel like maybe the Mission Impossible franchise has maybe stayed as truest to what it is without change. Big stunt reveals, twist, turns. Tom Cruise is the constant.
But that's because Cruise can do that. How many actors can get away with that?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, well, but the guy realized he had one flop in something he starred in his career.
I mean, we got to do an Edge of Tomorrow pod at some point. I was watching that again the other day.
One of my favorite all-time movies.
Let's go.
I love that movie.
It's one of his best movies. So
yeah, but it's phenomenal.
But let's just put this in perspective. It's 1996. It's 1996. The big stars of Top Gun both bring back 60s TV shows, spy-esque TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise brings back Mission Impossible. Val Kilmer brings back The Saint. And here we are.
And that's what we have. Yeah. All right. Final thoughts as we're wrapping up. Gentlemen, Justin, you were here first. What do you have to say?
I would love to see a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm seeing rumors that we might get a Les Grossman standalone movie, which I don't think would be a good idea. I don't even think that character is aged particularly well, like 5 minutes after that movie came out, after Tropic Thunder came out. But I am game for any Tom Cruise movie. He's a very complicated figure as a person, but he lives for this stuff, and I'm here for it. I'm here for someone who is truly passionate about their craft, and I find his movies endlessly entertaining. I will watch his great movies. I will watch. I'll watch Far and Away. It's not a great movie. I will watch it because
I like on the pod. We've done more Tom Cruise films on this pod than anything else.
I like Far and Away for nothing else to hear him say, "How do you like my new hot Shannon?"
Jesus Christ! How do you have random Far and Away quotes stuck into your head?
But like I love his passion for the craft, and he, as we've talked about, as you guys have said, like he's a champion of movies, and the movies could use more champions right now. Hollywood's in a really tough spot.
Craig?
So I know he's talked about that he wants to be the first person to do a movie in space. I have no doubt he will. If he is required to build his own rocket and fly himself there, I have no doubt he will do it. So I do think he's ultimately going to get there. I don't know what it's going to be. Doesn't matter. He's going to do it. I do think he is our last movie star. Mm-hmm. I think because of the way streaming has evolved and people watch it people watch YouTube rather than put on a movie or TV. I don't think you can get movie stars like this anymore that have that cultural clout across. I don't think you can get really anyone in entertainment. I mean, I think Taylor Swift is there, so Tom Cruise and Taylor Swift need to date and then have children to create the ultimate entertainment star. But I don't think you're going to get another. I think he is literally the last movie star as we have understood them since the rise of movies and, the golden age of Hollywood. I don't think there's anyone else like him.
You're right, Craig. I think that what you're saying is Tom Cruise is the last action hero. So
no. Let's not be ridiculous here. The sacrilege.
Guys, you're gonna love to hear this. There is going to be a Tom Cruise space movie involving Christopher McQuarrie and Doug Liman from Edge of Tomorrow and several of the Jason Bourne movies. So it is happening.
Is it going to be in like space? Like must be.
That's what I'm reading.
It's the one. It's the one with Ana de Armas.
Yeah.
I want to again. I know I've seen Tom Cruise run on a treadmill, to fight aliens. I want to see him running in space.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to do it. He's going to do a spacewalk.
Mm-hmm.
I must see him running along outside of something.
All right. Well, guys, this has been a blast. I told Fletcher that we will absolutely keep this under an hour. And if you divide 1 hour and 30 minutes by each one of us, we've managed to do that. Yeah, so
it's like the end of, Mission Impossible. We have to divide it in two. So it's 2 45-minute episodes.
You're welcome, Fletcher. And we talked about Paula Patton. So that was for you. Gentlemen, thank you guys so very much for being here. This was a lot of fun. I was looking forward to doing this all week. So I'm glad we were able to do this. So if you were listening in, we have more pods coming. Stick around. And that's a wrap here at Historians of the Movies podcast. Thank you so very much to our guests, Justin Rawlins and Craig Bruce Smith. Thank you, of course, to Fletcher Powell. I don't know, Fletcher, who you are. I'm going to make you an evil villain in this case. So thank you to our producer, Fletcher, for making this show happen. And thank you to all of you for continuing to listen in. If you like the pod, remember to subscribe and share it with some friends. We've got a ton of stuff coming for you, including more releases this summer. Sorry, Fletcher. So thanks for being here, and we'll talk to you later. Ciao for now.